Shalom, shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. A Shabbat Shalom. They just coming with a continuation of, comparing Egypt to America, Babylon the Great, and kind of picking up where I left off. I believe I left off, looking at some lynchings, but then I'm gonna try my best, to come back, pretty much taking off where I left off. So the Egyptians were moving out of fear, like moving out of a fear that we need to control these people because they're stronger than us, they're mightier than us, they have more children than us, and it's the same thing happening here, or that's happened here and is happening here in America, Babylon the Great. So this is Exodus chapter 1 and verse 9. And verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So the Israelites are stronger than the Egyptians, and they outnumber them. And they said, Come on, let us do wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So the point being here, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So we're stronger, and we're more in number than they are, and this drives how they acting. Because what do? They set up taskmasters. They set up all kinds of things to make our servitude bitter. And then I'm gonna jump to Genesis chapter 25 and 23, the prophecy that was told to Rebecca. And let's see here. Genesis 25 and 21. And Isaac entreated Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for his wife, because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Now, when it says she went to inquire, she's asking because their children, they're fighting in the womb. Sometimes a baby will kick that's by himself, but these two children are fighting in the womb, because these two children are, when you go back in Genesis, this is going back to Cain and Abel. Cain slew his brother Abel, and this is really like a retelling of this story, except Cain was not able to slay Abel this time. And verse 23, and Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people. So two nations in the womb. You have the righteous and the wicked. You have, which later I'll read, Jacob and Esau. These are two separate kind of people, two nations. It says two nations, Shanayim. Okay, that just means two. So did it go into nations? H1471, Gawaya, and it says nation, people. So when it says, if they were the same nation, it would just say one nation is in their womb. They're just brothers. But no, it's two separate nations. These are two nations of people. And these would become what would be known as Israel and Edom, or Edom and Israel, going off of how they're birthed. So, and Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So manner, let's look at that word. Okay, so it's I think Bible Hub is kind of better at that, or maybe even the Blue Letter. But a two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So what is that telling you? One people shall be stronger than the other people. Who is that? The younger brother Jacob is going to be stronger. This is who went through into Egypt. Matter of fact, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And I also had, I'll keep reading. And when her days, and this is prophecy, this is still yet to happen. Even though it happened for a short period of time during King David's rule and King Solomon's rule, but ultimately, the Edomites have, only served us for a short period of time, and they're ruling now. So when you read Second Esdras, the 6th chapter, it goes into that. Which let me keep reading. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment. It's talking about Esau, wasted away is he, and they called his name Esau. He came out red, meaning his blood was showing through his skin. He looked like a stillborn child. It's not saying that he's hairy, but he looks like one of the dyed garments that they were having at the time. It's comparing it to that. Now, when you go to the next verse, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare them. So Jacob came out. He's not described. Why? Because he looks like everybody else. This is a distinction on Esau. A distinct marker on him, pointing him out. So, what else did I have here? Since I mentioned Second Esdras, and this imagery here, how this happened, this is also in prophecy. It says Second Esdras chapter 6 and verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? So what shall, separating the times, that Ezra is in the end time. How do you know what time that we're in other words? So what shall be the parting asunder of times, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So when is the end of this time? The end of the wicked's reign, this rulership, and the next the one that followeth. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So describing end time rulership, the end of the age. Jacob's age is coming soon, because Esau's age is now. So like how Jacob was holding the heel of Esau, this is how the new world is coming in, the new age. When you look at that word for world. So this is what's coming. Esau is ruling right now. This is his rulership. He's ruling over the world. Coming up soon, based on prophecy, not off our own, will or anything like that, the Israelites are going to be ruling. And it's going to be an everlasting kingdom. But then also, that was pretty much it for that. So speaking of Esau, this is his kingdom. And I read Revelation 11 and verse 8 in part 1, but I'm going to read it again to show the symbolism to Egypt. The symbolism, a visual comparison. I might show pictures, but just showing the similarities in the symbolism that between Egypt, ancient Egypt, and America. So Revelation 11 and verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Now, this city first of all, their dead bodies referring to the Israelites. You're in a spiritually dead state. You know, when you look at Baruch, the 4th chapter, was it Proverbs 29? Out of the way of understanding. Let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. Proverbs 21. Okay, Con. Proverbs 21 and verse 16, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. And so we've all, as the Israelites, have wandered out of the way of understanding. We followed after these other nations, worshiped their gods, took on their practices. We've lost our identity, we lost our heritage, we lost everything. And in that losing, we were in the congregation of the dead. We lost the ways of the Heavenly Father. So when you wander out of the way, which are the ways of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, you are in the congregation of the dead. Because, Baruch 4, because, Baruch 4 and verse 1, this is the book of the commandments of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So this is the book. This is what leads to life. The law, statutes, commandments that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai gave us. But after we've fallen away and have woken up, we've learned that our righteousness is as filthy rags. What gives us life is believing in Yahushai and hearing this word. Believing and doing what he said. So, back to Revelation 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, this great city being Babylon the Great, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. So the image of Yahushai, all that was crossed out here. The teachings of him, his image, how he looked, what he taught, who he came for, all that was crossed out, concealed, hidden by the wicked. So now we're looking at Egypt. So I put in here cities in America. Oh, come on. Cities in America. Cities in America with names going back to Egypt. Now it doesn't say it. So it don't really give you nothing, but right here, I put in this AI, it says what cities in the U.S. are named after Egypt. And it says several American cities and towns are named after Egyptian places with a high concentration in southern Illinois, a region nicknamed Little Egypt. Prominent examples include Memphis, Tennessee, named after the ancient capital, Cairo, Illinois, located at a Nile-like confluence, which I guess that's I don't know what a confluence is. I guess that's a with flow. Oh, known as the meeting of waters. Oh, okay, where they had the Blue Nile and the White Nile, and it joins together to make the major river. Okay, so they have a spot like that up there. Okay. Other examples include Thebes, Illinois, Karnak, Illinois, and all these places. This is a heavily Jake, which I don't know about Cairo, but I know there's a lot of Jake in Illinois. And other examples include Thebes, Karnak, and Egypt. Major American cities with Egyptian names. It says Memphis, Cairo, Thebes, Karnak, Egypt, Cairo, Nebraska. I guess there's some other ones, but the main ones that come to mind is like Memphis. So going here further, symbols. I put in here symbols, structures, places in America going back to Egypt. It says numerous symbols, structures, and places in the United States demonstrate a direct, intentional connection to Egypt. It says intentional. It's purposely done. The same way how the symbolism for the eagle is used. When you use symbolism, you're just not throwing. And even look, it's the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that put it in these thoughts, in the thoughts of these people to do this, so that we could have the evidence of what this place is. Because when you look at what the national bird is, and you look at the history of it, which I don't think it was officially the national bird, but they put it up as a national bird for this whole time to where you thought it was the national bird. But originally, the turkey was going to be the symbol for America. But it was changed to the eagle. And that fits the scriptures because, Esau exalts himself as the eagle. There's going to be somebody you can't understand coming as swift as the eagle. Things like that. But numerous symbols, structures, and places in the United States demonstrate a direct, intentional connection to ancient Egypt. And considering how we've been treated here, it would be, if your eyes are open, you can see that this is spiritual Egypt. Largely driven by 19th century Egyptomania. Let's look at that. Egyptomania. Egyptomania is an enduring, intense fascination with ancient Egyptian with ancient Egyptian culture, art, and design, often characterized by waves of widespread popularity, such as after Napoleon's 1798 expedition or the 1922 discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. It permeated Western visual culture through architecture, fashion, jewelry, and literature, moving from elite fascination to mass culture spectacle. So, historical peaks of Egyptomania, the Roman era, following the conquest of Egypt by Augustus in 31 BC, Egyptian motifs, obelisks, and cults like Isis spread across the Roman Empire. So, this is the same thing, because this is Rome 2.0. This is the revived Roman Empire. It says post-Napoleon's invasion in 1798 brought back vast knowledge of Egypt, sparking a craze in France and Britain. The Victorian period, the late 1800s, Victorian culture was influenced by Egyptian motifs in home furnishings, and that's also this era here. It ain't saying it, but them niggas was eating fucking the mummies. They were eating mummies. They were eating dead people. And it was a time of mummy unwrapping parties. Since the 1920s, King Tut Mania, the discovery of King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 by Howard Carter created a global craze influencing Art Deco style, fashion, and film. Key aspects of Egyptomania: architecture and design, adoption of Egyptian styles, including pyramids, sphinxes, and obelisks, and cemeteries. And you see these all over the place. And buildings like cinema and theaters, decorative arts, popularity of motifs such as scarabs, sphinxes, pharaohs, heads on furniture, jewelry, and clothing, spectacle and media. Mummies were popular attractions, and mummy unrolling was popular, often in a theatrical event. So they really liked Egypt here, because this is Egypt. It's in the spirit of Egypt. How fitting. Cultural symbolism. Egypt was often used as a source of exoticism, meaning people they just like exotic shit. Like it was the hip thing. Mystery or imperial power. Right, imperial power. This is an imperial, imperial nation, representing a shared past for the Western world. Yeah, the past that you share is that you oppress the Israelites. That's what you share. Let's go to this real quick because I had it earlier and it was on my mind. I forgot to bring it back. So this is Genesis 15, and this is a prophecy that was told to Abraham and what would happen to his seed. So Genesis 15 and 13, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So this is speaking of ancient Egypt, what I'm reading about in Exodus. Now you'll have some Israelites that are, mistaken because they'll hear this 400 years and they'll think 1619 to 2019. And I remember that a few years ago that they were thinking that this prophecy was speaking of that, but this has already happened. So, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So this nation, if they're so similar, they have this shared past, that you had the Israelites in captivity. Guess what? This nation that we're serving currently, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to judge you. You're now the new Egypt. And we're going to come out, look, we're not taking anything with us from Babylon the Great. This place is going to be completely destroyed. We're not even going to take our bodies when the elect are beamed up to the chariots. We're not even taking our bodies with us. We're going to receive new bodies. But Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is still going to bless us with great substance. But all this stuff here is going to be burned up, and it's going to be beautiful in itself. To see Egypt destroyed in a spectacular fashion, to where when ancient Egypt was destroyed, yeah, it's still there. They had to rebuild. They were never a superpower again, but the nations around them, they saw that destruction. They feared. And this destruction is going to be far greater than ancient Egypt, because this place is going to be completely wiped off the earth. So it's just beautiful times, just beautiful. Because the nations are going to see it too. The nations are going to see all that, and they're going to be scared as shit. And they ain't going to have no armies. They ain't going to have no missiles. Because they would have, all the armies that had, missiles and nukes and all that stuff, they already fired it at Babylon. And even then, what are you going to do against an immortal? But anyway, back to the scriptures. Where am I? Comparing. I looked at Egyptomania thing. I think I was looking at this. Symbol structures, places in America. It says Cleopatra's Needle, New York City, located behind. Let's look at what that is. Sometimes you want to look at everything. And Salakia, Lord willing, this is edifying. Salakia, from all over the place. So I think this was actually, they actually took this from Egypt. So Cleopatra's Needle refers to 3 ancient Egyptian obelisks, which Cleopatra, they say she was an Egyptian, but no, she was from Ptolemy's line, which goes back to the Edomites. She wasn't actually an Egyptian. She wasn't a Hamite. She wasn't Matazarium. She was an Edomite. So whenever you see Jake talking about, oh, she was a black woman, which, hey, she could have, looked, but she was an Edomite. So Cleopatra's Needle refers to 3 ancient Egyptian obelisks, 1450 BC, located in London, New York, and Paris. The London and NYC needles were commissioned by Thutmose III, moved to Alexandria by Romans, and relocated in the 19th century. They are roughly 69 feet tall, weighing over 200 tons, and are made of red granite. So, that's all I'm going to get from that. But just to look at, what did I press? So just to look at the images. Okay. Yep, there it is. Wow, Egyptian stuff. Cool, man. You see it's obelisk. I don't even want to look at that. It says Cleopatra's Needle, the Washington Monument. Everybody should know that. A 555-foot tall obelisk, the classic form of Egyptian monumental architecture representing the sun god. So if this place was, built on, loving God of the Bible and all this kind of stuff, why do they have all this other stuff that's dedicated to other gods? It's the Washington Monument, and it's dedicated to the sun god. And if you know a little bit more about it, that's actually a fucking penis. Because, these heathens obsessed with penises and vaginas and eggs and reproduction. Memphis, Tennessee, named directly after the ancient Egyptian capital. I already mentioned that. The city features a 32-story pyramid arena, now a Bass Pro Shop. A replica statue of Ramses the Great, which when you read about it, when you're reading, the history, this is supposedly the pharaoh that had us in captivity during, I believe it's Ramses II? Ramses the Great. Okay, come on. So Ramses II, this is, that guy. He's considered one of the most powerful and celebrated pharaohs. So, anyway, I don't care. So it's a Luxor Hotel, a direct modern replica of the Pyramid and Sphinx, Egyptian building in Richmond, Virginia, Grove Street. You get it. There's Egyptian symbolism all over Babylon the Great. So this is comparing Egyptians' hate towards the Israelites, and Egyptians' hate towards the Israelites and American hate towards blacks, which I think I already looked at this. Yeah, I looked at this in the part 1, so that's fine. So we'll go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 12. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. Matter of fact, right. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. And this is what's to come. This chapter is comparing Esau, Edom to Pharaoh. But it's also letting you know, right here, what I just read, the elder shall serve the younger. Who's the younger brother? Jacob. What makes him younger? He came out second. He came out holding Esau's heel. How could he come out holding Esau's heel, if he wasn't the younger brother? But anyway, it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. And that doesn't mean he loved Esau a little less. No, he has a righteous anger, a righteous hatred towards you Edomites for what you've done to his people, the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And it goes beyond just redlining, some lynchings. No, this is history. This is a perpetual hatred. This is a hatred that is, you've had this hatred, you've held on to it through the ages. So what shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High? The Most High forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So letting you know, it's Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's will. It's not our will. When you look at the things that we've done, hey, we deserve death. We deserve worse than what we're going to receive, far worse. But guess what? Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is having mercy on us. He sent his son Yahweh Shai. He was a sacrifice for our nation. He woke us up in these last days, gave us this information, this truth, told us what's getting ready to happen and how to get right. To be on how to get on his good side, in other words, to escape this judgment that's coming, the thermonuclear destruction. The signs of his coming. How to truly trust in him in a time where trusting in him is going to seem crazy. In the time of the MOTB, where it's going to be presented to you as safety, and without Esau Edom, you're going to be stuck out here. You're going to be stuck with nothing. You're going to be nothing without Esau. But Yahweh Bashem Yahushai training you up, raising you up to completely trust in him, to know that through anything, he's going to provide a way. He's going to make a way. Even if you got to die, guess what? You still got a reward. As long as you stay faithful and true to him. So continuing on, verse 16. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but the Most High that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So this is the same reason Esau has been raised up these last days, being compared to Pharaoh, being like Pharaoh, being worse than Pharaoh. But this is for your destruction. This is so Yahweh Bashem Yahushai can show his power, to make his name known throughout the earth, to show who his chosen are. So this is beautiful. Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will, he hardeneth. So he's hardening up Esau Edom. He has him doing the same things, naming stuff after Egypt, putting up monuments, doing all that stuff after Egypt. So I have here abomination again, because I kind of want to touch on it again. But this is Genesis chapter 43. This is Genesis 43 and 32. And they set on him for, matter of fact, let me read up a little bit. Now, this is Joseph. He's been in captivity for a very long time, and he hasn't seen his family, his brother, in a long time, in years, since they were, and they don't recognize Joseph. But this is sorry. Let me see here. I'll just start at 29. And he lifted up his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, this is Joseph, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother, of whom ye spake unto me? And he said, the Most High, Yahweh power be gracious unto thee, my son. And Joseph made haste, for his bowels did yearn upon his brother, and he sought where to weep. And he entered into his chamber and wept there. So this is heavy emotional scene when you gotta visualize these accounts in the scriptures. Here it is, you ain't seen your brother in years. Maybe I think this might be 17 years later. I can't remember exactly, but Joseph was in captivity for a very long time. I think about 30 years before the rest of the Israelites came to Egypt. The rest of his brethren came to Egypt. So this is very emotional. He was thrown into a pit. He was carried off, sold. He became a slave. Then through all that, Pharaoh's wife tried to get with him. He ran out of his clothes. and then was thrown in prison, and then finally was released from prison, but he was made a pretty much the second in command over Egypt. And so now he's seeing his brother. This is very emotional, because this is something like you don't think you ever gonna see, your brother, your family, any of that ever again. So, and he washed his face and went out and refrained himself and set on bread, and they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, for the Egyptians which did eat with him by themselves, because I'm sorry. Let me get this. Let me see if I can pull this up in a different version. It's Salaki again. I didn't mean to do that. What is that? Genesis 43:32. So let's see. Genesis 43:32 in the Bible Hub. The waiters served Joseph at his own table, and his brothers were served at a separate table. The Egyptians who ate with Joseph sat at their own table, because Egyptians despise Hebrews and refused to eat with them. So in the KJV it says they held them they were an abomination. So it says they despise. Let's look at that. Despise. Highlight. Come on now. Despise. To despise is to regard someone or something with deep contempt, scorn, or intense dislike. So you're an abomination. It is used to describe a strong emotional aversion, often going beyond simple hate to imply looking down on something as worthless or base. So let's go here. America's view, and part of my bad grammar. America's view blacks as abomination. It says historical and sociological analyses indicate that while the United States has not formally adopted a singular national viewpoint, viewing black people as an abomination, deep-seated structural racism and anti-blackness have historically functioned to dehumanize blacks, treating them as outsiders, inferiors, or threats. Now, does this not mirror what the scriptures is saying? No, I mean, come on, man. They eating at separate tables. They wouldn't even let us eat at the same places, the same restaurants, sit in the same buildings, use the same restrooms, so on and so forth. Historical dehumanization during the 19th and early 20th centuries. American educational and scientific institutions often portrayed black people as inherently inferior, subhuman, or children of Cain. Meanwhile, that's you, nigga. You the child of Cain. You the child of the murderer. It's you. Providing an ideological justification for slavery and later Jim Crow laws. Now, doesn't that go back to that fear? If we're inferior, if we're so inferior, why do you have to do that though? If we're so inferior, worthless, detestable, and all this stuff, why do you have to do all this stuff? It should just be, natural. We're just inferior. But you're inferior of us. Structural racism and Afro-pessimism. I've never heard that one. Afro-pessimism. Contemporary viewpoints, including the framework of Afro-pessimism. This is the first time I've seen it, man. Google is just making stuff up. I don't know. Afro-pessimism. That's just... Afro-pessimism is a critical theoretical framework arguing that black people exist in a state of social death. Didn't I see that? in a state of social death. Those that wander out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Then there's dead bodies. There's spiritually dead bodies not lying in the street of spiritual Sodom in Egypt. So this is beautiful. The water Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You know, it positions anti-blackness, which we're not black. We're the Israelites. So we're actually in this Babylon the Great. We are in a worse state than we were in Egypt. Why? Because in Egypt, we knew that we were Israelites. You know, there was still family structure. You know, even though they were doing all this wickedness to us, you know, we were in a better case. But today, guess what? We're in a worse off case. We didn't know who we are. You know, we didn't know our enemies. Our families have been broken up. But guess what? Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is still maneuvering you. Because he's all his elect. He's managed to keep them to where you can't get to them. And even if you did, he made it to where you're never going to take their election away from them. You know, he made it to where we're going to survive despite all the traps and pitfalls that you set for us. You know, the same way Moses being in the basket on the river in a what is it, alligator or crocodile? I don't care. In an alligator infested river where you would expect to be ate. The same way Yahushai. You know, when Yahushai, him being birthed, and Herod being scared, terrified, like a little bitch that he is, sent out to kill all the newborns, all the children, the young men children. But guess what? Yahushua was delivered. So it positions, it says black people exist in a state of social death and are fundamentally excluded from humanity. Damn. It positions anti-blackness not just as racism, but as a foundational structure of the world, where black people are defined by their status as slaves, non-humans, structurally opposite to human life. God damn, who was the person that came up with this? Structural position, Afro-pep. Anyway, you know, this lesson ain't, you know, to go into all this stuff, but it's just interesting to see the word. I'll look more at it. It says, contemporary viewpoints, including the framework of Afro-pessimism, suggest that black Americans are frequently viewed through the lens of slavery-era ideologies as others or outsiders. This is reflected in systemic issues such as racialized mass incarceration and police brutality, which some analysts label as modern abomination or crises in American life. Demonization and criminalization. The media and political discourse have frequently used terms that criminalize black individuals, evolving from brute caricature of the post-Reconstruction era to the thug narrative in modern context. Internalized anti-blackness. Some perspectives suggest that anti-blackness is sometimes internalized with American culture at large, affecting how black individuals and communities are perceived across various sectors. So the point being, we're considered an abomination here. Now, when I'm saying we, primarily blacks, Negroes, you know, so-called blacks, so-called Negroes, you of the tribe of Judah. You know, you get the brunt of that. But also, the rest of the tribes, we also get it too. But guess what? You get it the brunt because you're the head. You get the most of it. Here I put the same thing, but because I changed the grammar, it shows something else. No, that's fine. It's pretty much saying the same thing. Israelites were considered abomination. All this stuff is just showing some BS, so that's fine. I mean, that's not fine, but Uh, Going back to uh, how the Egyptians they treated our forefathers, the Israelites, moving out of fear. So this is America's treatment of black people was intrinsically linked to and driven by a deep-seated fear among the white population, while the treatment itself was the brutal reality of slavery, segregation, and violence. This system was created and maintained out of a system of fear regarding potential uprisings, retaliation, or loss of economic and social control. Now, did they not say that? Let me go back to that. Did the Pharaoh not say that? Did he? Did he say that? Exodus 1 and 22. Let's look at it. It says Exodus 1, not 1 and 22, but 1 in verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So they're stronger, they're more in number. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. Is it not retaliation? And so get them up out of the land. So guess what? They get them out of the land, meaning they're going to pretty much ruin your economy with them leaving, because they're the driving force. They're the workforce that got you to the, got your kingdom to where it is right now. So pretty much they're going to retaliate and they're going to ruin you economically. So where is that again? So here, the treatment itself was a brutal reality of slavery, segregation, and violence. This system was created and maintained out of a system of fear regarding potential uprisings, lest they join with the enemies, retaliation, they join with the enemies and remember what we did to them, and loss of economic and social control, and they leave the land. So we lost economic control. They're doing the same thing. Here, fear of insurrection, slave masters feared retribution, leading to the creation of rigorous policing apparatuses and excessive violence, torture, dismemberment, intended to intimidate and preemptively crush resistance. The system was built on the ideological invention that black people were inferior. So guess what? Back to Genesis. It says, one shall be stronger than the other. Matter of fact, I'll just quote it. It says, one shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. So who is stronger? Who is this saying? Because it says the myth of superiority. The system was built on the ideological invention that black people were inferior, a subspecies, meaning they thought they were weaker, but really the hell that you put us through proved that we're stronger than you, because we're still here. Even though a lot of Jake bugged out, but we still here. So we stronger than you. A myth that was amplified when white society feared losing its social standing when black people rebelled. So again, the system was built on the ideological invention that black people were inferior, a subspecies. So they had to trick themselves and believe that we're really weaker than they are, when it's really Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai that delivered us into your hands. How about that one? The Heavenly Father gave us into your hands. You didn't do it on your own. Really, you're the weak one. So they had to show through violence that we're stronger than them, because otherwise they feared a rebellion. That's why they're doing it. They know we're stronger. So we got to keep them under wraps. So continuing on, I'm going to close out pretty soon. This is just, since Esau wants to be everybody, I had this picture. I sent it to the brother. But this was on the history books. So this is Egypt, or Esau portraying himself as the Egyptians. They already went through the Egyptomania, how they had all that stuff everywhere. This is him. He's the Pharaoh. The modern day Pharaoh, whoever this guy is, but that was just. But that Pharaoh being raised up, this hatred that Esau Edom has had, this has been through the generations. This is Genesis 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So this hatred has persisted due to generations. Because Esau hated Jacob because he got the blessing. The blessing was for him. It was never for Esau. But he said, I will slay my brother Jacob. And this has been passed down through the generations. Let me get this here. And how he's treated you. Because this hatred, this hatred that Esau Edom shows through his policies, this exceeds ancient Egypt. He took them things that he learned from ancient Egypt, like gator bait, the birth control, the monuments, all that kind of stuff. But he has amplified it. This is amplified. This is a deep-seated perpetual hatred that he's had. So, Ezekiel 35 and verse 5, because thou hast not, matter of fact, let me get up so you know it's talking about Esau. Ezekiel 35 and verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, which is synonymous with Esau and Edom. And that means hairy. Going into the mountain ranges where he lived, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. So Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is against you, Esau Edom. He's getting ready to bring great judgment on you. Keep in mind, this is Esau Edom. He has to be ruling. Esau is the end of the world. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So, and I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know I am Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So, this place, Babylon the Great, is getting ready to be laid waste. All the habitats of Esau Edom getting ready to be laid waste. He's going into slavery. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, which means an unending, continual hatred. You've continually laid thy stroke. Matter of fact, I'll get that next. And has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So you've continually shed the blood of the Israelites. This lesson, Lord willing, has shown that. Somewhat, but pretty much brothers have done lessons on the hate that Esau Edom, the so-called white man, has towards the Israelites, you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. So he laid it on. He would not let up. And this is out of hate. This is out of fear. This devil, he really wants his birthright back, but he's not going to get it because it was never his. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So guess what? You got a great judgment coming. Let's see here. Continual stroke. I think is that Isaiah 14? Isaiah 14 and verse 6, he who smote the people in the wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. So not only as he ruled, this devil is ruling over the whole earth, and the whole earth is suffering under him, but primarily the Israelites. Those are the ones that the Lord cares about. And really, pretty much I'm coming to the end. Jeremiah 49 and verse 10, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places. He's hiding behind different names, calling himself white, calling himself European, calling himself by our names, calling himself, Jayish, calling himself after, taking our identity. Everything. Hey, the wickedness that he's done throughout the earth, he is completely. It says he is completely made bare. Everything is made known about him. His history's out there. You can see it online. You can see everything that he's doing. You can see his shit that he's doing in real time. And the tongues, the whistleblowers falling upon themselves, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. So, there's gonna be a time where, he's gonna be asked out there, and he's gonna be utterly destroyed. So this is Romans 8. Well, this is just the precepts that I had left. So this is Romans 8 and verse 16. So based off the comparison, I'll just read it. The Spirit beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So the Spirit beareth witness. If you're hearing this lesson, you following along, you see the similarities of ancient Egypt when you read the book of Exodus. In our treatment here in America, Babylon the Great, when you read through the curses in Deuteronomy 28, when you read through the experiences of the Israelites, that the experiences of the Israelites, the accounts of the Israelites that are written in the scriptures, and your own experiences, the Spirit is bearing witness. This is your experience. This is you. So if you can resonate, if this word resonates with you, guess what? You're more than likely one of the children of the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So, and this information coming out, this is not a coincidence. This is not just something that happened. This ain't a fad. This ain't the next thing, the Hebrew Israelite train, and you're going to hashtag Hebrew Israelite, all that kind of stuff. No, this is your history. This is a very significant thing that's happening. This is part of the Great Awakening. Like I've read in the previous lesson, going more in depth into Revelation 11, this is a part of a Great Awakening that's happening. Like I mentioned in Ezekiel 37, this is very significant, this time period that we're in, because Esau Edom is being revealed. World War III has started. Jacob's trouble has started. We're waiting for the Revelation 13:16. We're waiting for the Charagma. You're seeing earthquakes all around the world. You're seeing war and rumors of war. You're seeing food shortages. You're seeing you're seeing inflation, and what, Lord willing, soon will lead into hyperinflation. You're seeing the fire being kindled before Yahushua arrives. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So we fell away, 70 AD, the siege of Jerusalem, we fell away. The southern kingdom that was left scattered. A lot went into the western part of Africa. We were scattered. And this falling away happened. And guess what? The second part happened. The man of sin being revealed in these last days. So I'm going to jump down. Verse 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth. So this wicked Esau Edom is being revealed in these last days, signifying that Yahushua is getting ready to return. And he's being consumed by the mouth of the prophets. We're in the same spirit of Yahushua, given prophecy. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So he's going to destroy this wicked kingdom when he comes in the chariots. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. So this devil has the power of Satan, and he's deceived a lot of our people, but Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai doesn't want them. They're going to be destroyed. So that's pretty much it. Esau Edom, you were revealed in these last days, and you're getting ready to be destroyed. So, hey, with that, hey, Shabbat Shalom. Hey, Shalom.